Good afternoon. My name is Lynda Habel, and I'll be sharing a presentation with you on separation and loss and the 5 steps of the grief process. I'm hoping I can enlighten you on a few of these things, and maybe we can share some of our ideas after we're all done. We have all lost someone close or know someone who has experienced grief. I'd like to share a quote from you from C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite authors. No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. And I have to agree with that. Grief and fear kind of walk a very fine line. And as we go through the 5 stages, I want you to kind of remember that as we go along. The 5 stages are shock and denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and resolution and acceptance. And we are going to go through those step by step right now. The grieving process, shock and denial. People feel disconnected, stunned, little or no emotion. Denial is one of those things that go through your head. Was I contacted by the wrong person? It can't be my spouse. It couldn't have been my child. Why did you call me? Denial helps us set the pace for our feelings of grief. Once denial and shock fades, we can begin the healing process. So you need to let that denial go away before you can start dealing with the next steps that we're going on to. I can remember my mother coming home from the hospital with our pastor and sitting down with us and in denial, and she couldn't tell us that my father had passed. And for those next few days, my mother was in severe denial about the fact my father died and that she was going to have to marry her husband in the next few days. So denial is one of those very real feelings that start at the very beginning of this process. As we move on, there's anger. Anger is a necessary stage in the grief process. People blame others. They blame the doctors, the nurses, EMTs, family members. And that anger is expelled on the people closest to us, whether it be our friends or our close family. And people need to feel the anger. The more you feel the anger, the easier it is to move on and heal. Think about when you get into an argument and you're angry. If you don't expel that anger, you can't move on with the next stage. And when you experience grief event, you feel disconnected. You kind of walk around in a daze from reality. You have no grounding. You feel like you've had nothing to hold on to. And anger is that strength that binds us to the reality. We see this step in movies when people go back and see the doctor or the nurse after a loved one has passed and they haven't been able to put that anger out on somebody. And usually it's a doctor or a nurse that gets the brunt of that anger, which is kind of unfair, but it's necessary for them to move on. The next step is depression. We've all seen that ad where depression hurts. That's the pain. That's the heart people feel in part of this grief process. Their heart is breaking. They've lost something close to them. People withdraw from life. They feel numb and they live in a fog. They're stuck on the couch. They stay in bed. Life is too overwhelming. What's the point of going on? That's the despair. And then they withdraw. Then they stop talking to people. They kind of back off and don't want to deal with people. They stop going to church. They start doing the things they love, going to the movies, doing things that their spouses did. That's when we have to check on those people. I can remember just recently, a friend of mine went through this stage, a coworker. She had announced she was pregnant. She had all the baby shoes lined up. And she was so excited about this pregnancy and everything that all the announcements stopped. And I wondered what was going on. No Facebook posts, no messages, none of that. And then I found out she had a miscarriage. But it was after she had gone through those processes of anger, of denial, of the depression, the withdrawal. And then she came out and she told her story and she shared with others so others could learn. Now we move into the next stage of bargaining. I call this the what if stage. This is where people begin to regain control of who they are and what their world should look like. What if I left the house 5 minutes later? What if I had gotten my spouse to the doctor sooner? What if I had changed my children's diets? Would this have made a difference? People also begin to bargain with God. It's the beginning step. This is where you deal with making a deal with God. Now, Lord, if you bring them back to me, I'll be a better person. I'll go to church more. I'll make them go to church more. I'll read the Bible more. I'll pray more. People go through this, and this is a really real stage. And they're trying to change things or prevent from moving on. That's the bargaining stage. And then the last stage is resolution and acceptance. This one, I think, is the stage of hope. This is the stage where people have kind of healed from all the other stages. And this is the stage where the person acknowledges that your loved one isn't coming back, but you are going to be okay. This is where people begin planning for the future. They really begin to appreciate who they are in the present. They have a more positive outlook. They have more good days than bad days. This is the wonderful part of this process. They begin to focus on the future. This is the stage where parents who have maybe lost a child begin thinking about having another child, begin finding a way to incorporate children back into their lives. This is where parents sometimes often join an awareness group or become involved in fundraising for whatever reason their child died. And I began to think about a young girl in our community who suddenly died of the flu. She had been a little sick. She'd stayed home. Mom took her to the doctor. The doctor said, no, take her home. She's okay. And then as she began to not get better, she suddenly died overnight in her sleep. And the whole town went through this grief process. We all went through, no, it couldn't have been her. She was so young, she was so vital, she was so beautiful. The denial. Then the town had the anger. Why didn't the doctor put her in the hospital? Why wasn't she sick enough? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? Then the family went into that depression or that withdrawal stage. And while they were there, we all kind of withdraw with them. We didn't talk much about it, but we knew the family was still going through this process. I don't know, they probably did their own bargaining stage, as all families and people go through. And then, after we all went through those stages together, the family began to heal and accept. They built a playground in her honor in the color purple. They started a music scholarship program at a local music camp. And they started an awareness campaign of washing hands, getting flu vaccines, and staying healthy during cold and flu season. These were all valuable steps in the process. And I hope you learned something from all of this today, and that we can begin to work through this process together and learn from it. Thank you very much for your time.